Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar. This was the slogan Prime Minister Modi gave President Trump at the Howdy Modi event in Houston, Texas, 5 years ago. Prime Minister Modi had to wait 5 years for the slogan to become reality. And today's landslide victory makes Trump the first US president in 127 years to serve non-consequent terms. Trump could be sworn in as the next US president on Monday, the 20th of January, 2025. But what does a second Trump presidency mean for India? We look at the 5 major areas we believe could impact the India-US relationship under a second Trump presidency. Area number 1, tariff and trade. Area number 2, immigration. Number 3, China. 4, military ties between India and the US. And finally, human rights and Khalistan. Joining me to discuss what a Trump presidency means for India are Rahul Chri, former CEO, Tata Defense, Ambassador Meera Shankar, former Indian ambassador to the US, Ajit Kumar, psephologist and senior journalist, and in the studio, I have with me my colleague R. Sridharan, Network Editor, International Affairs. But first, I want to go live to our TV9 reporter, Manish Jha, who's in Washington, D.C. right now. Manish, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Manish, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Sandeep.
Manish, absolutely bang on as you predicted that the results would be out in a couple of hours in the morning itself today, you said. And you're right with that prediction. Did you know that Donald Trump was going to sweep the US elections?
See, I think that even that Donald Trump was not sure that he will get such a big support. Although he was fighting very hard, he was very much confident, but still he was not sure that he will get such a clear-cut majority. But today, I can say you, while I'm in Washington, I came from New York to Washington, and now I can see that this is the new morning for US. You know, the 4 years back, I was here during the 2020 when the Biden became president, and that time the whole Washington DC was completely different. All the supporters from Black Lives Matters were on road, and they were celebrating. But you know what happened today? When we arrived here, all those supporters for Kamala, they were they were on road. They were ready to celebrate, but suddenly the result came out, and then all of them went to home. And now it's completely silent. You can see just behind me.
Washington D.C. is fallen silent, Shri. The fact that it's not the victory that the Democrats hope for. It's a landslide for Trump. It's a red wave, as we just discussed in a show a few hours earlier. Was this expected, Shri?
So I don't think anyone really expected that Trump would win in such a comprehensive fashion, right. Sandeep. I think anyone who now says that, yes, I knew that he was going to win in such a fashion is probably not being honest to all the numbers that came out, all the opinion polls that kept saying that, oh, it's going to be some win behind Democrats now because Joe Biden stepped down and Kamala Harris is going to take over. She's going to galvanize all the women voters. Right. So there's going to be new, wind under the Democratic wings. Yes. And then to say that, oh, it's going to be a close call. Because as we have maintained, on all our shows, when it comes to Donald Trump, there's always a little bit of underreporting in terms of the actual vote. Yes. Because in an environment which is increasingly woke, supporting Trump or speaking in favor of him is seen as anti, woke. It's not cool. Right. So I think that was one factor to my mind which probably suppressed the numbers. Yes. The real numbers which Mr. Trump is now, enjoying this morning.
I'm going to go quickly over to Ambassador Meera Shankar. Ma'am, welcome to the News9 Plus show. You've been in the United States at some very interesting twists and turns in the India-US strategic partnership. How challenging will be a second Donald Trump presidency for India?
Look, during his first presidency, he was an unknown element.
Right.
And how his presidency would unfold
Right.
was becoming clearer as time went by.
Yes.
Now he is a known entity.
Right.
In that sense, working with him should become easier.
Right.
And the second factor which will ensure continuity in the relationship is that the US sees China as its main strategic competitor,
Yes.
a country which has both the intention and the capability of challenging the US. Therefore, creating coalitions to handle this challenge in the Indo-Pacific becomes a key US priority, and India and the US share converging interests in the Indo-Pacific. So this becomes a key driver of the
Yes.
relationship. Added to that is the fact that India is a large and growing economy.
Yes.
So we are, slated to move up and eventually become the third largest economy in real terms as well, not just in PPP terms as
Yes.
we are today. And so if you're looking at where growth is going to occur in future, where business opportunities lie, clearly companies will factor in the India factor. The
Right.
third element is the strong technological partnership
Yes.
between India and the US.
Right.
Most of our IT and software exports go to the US, and what do? They help the competitiveness of US companies
Yes.
in their operations. So there is this kind of partnership which will ensure that there is continuity in the relationship. Having said this, there
Yes.
will be nuances.
Right.
Trump will be more isolationist and protectionist overall, making America great again, putting America first. These are some of his approaches. And as part of this, he wants to use tariff increases
Right.
in terms of the external trade policy that he follows. So he has said he will impose 10 to 20% tariffs across the board
Yes.
on all imports into the US, and tariffs going up to 50 to 60% on imports coming from China. So obviously, if this is implemented, we don't
Yes.
know whether it will be implemented, in a more selective fashion or across the board. That would impact India. But at the same time, if he imposes much higher duties on Chinese imports,
Yes.
it provides a fillip to the policies of various companies in the West to de-risk over dependence on China.
Absolutely.
And creates fresh opportunities for India. Of course, whether these opportunities will
Yes.
be availed of depends on how foreign businesses see India
Right.
in terms of its investment and business climate, because there are other countries, Vietnam, Poland, Mexico, who would also be in line for this kind of investment to flow into their countries. But it does present an opportunity. On the defense relationship, I
Yes.
would say that Trump, last time when he was there, he implemented the decision of Obama for India to be designated as major defense partner. He gave us the strategic authorization level 1
Yes.
assurance to ensure that this is implemented. So we now have access to technology on par with the US's closest allies. So while he would be expected to strengthen the defense relationship,
Yes.
particularly US defense exports, but whether he would be so gung-ho on joint production or joint research remains a question. In the past, he has not been.
Right.
If he moves to end the war with Ukraine, as he has said, it would make it easier for India to navigate its different relationships with both the US and with Russia, which has been a source of some some tension
Yes.
in the relationship. Both countries have managed it.
Absolutely, Ambassador Shankar. Thanks very much for that, very comprehensive take on the India-US relationship. And the fact is that the big takeaway there is the fact that you mentioned that Trump in his first term was an unknown, and now he seems to be more of a known unknown, if you can quote.
Or hopefully a known.
or a known. I mean, that would be the best scenario. But I'm going to go over to my colleague Manish Jha in Washington. He's just joining us for a brief while. Manish, what next now in Washington? What are you looking forward to? Is Kamala Harris expected to come out and make a statement in the next couple of hours? What are you waiting for?
Just imagine if situation would be different, like the Kamala has won and then the Trump was expected to come and accept the defeat. And if he didn't appear, then everyone was saying that okay, the Trump is how Trump is undemocratic, that even he is not ready to accept the defeat.
Yes.
But right now, Kamala Harris is not coming to accept the defeat.
Right.
At least now. But no one is going to say that okay, Kamala is undemocratic and Kamala should come and accept the defeat. So this is the difference between the Trump and others. But what I'm thinking about the one more character like Elon Musk.
Yes.
God bless America if Elon Musk will be the George Soros of Republican Party. I don't know, but I'm expecting like this. And the second thing, Trump has really changed. I never imagined that the Trump will, while giving the victory speech, Trump will say that my wife Melania has written such a wonderful book, and it has become a bestseller. So now the Trump is giving credit to each and everyone.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
So,
Trump being Trump, and his family matters a great deal for him. But thanks very much, Manish, for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you for news and updates. Thanks for being on the 9 p.m. show. We'll leave you now. I understand you have had a very long and tiring day, and I think you have a few more hours to go. Thank you for joining us. But that point that you made, Manish, the fact that Elon Musk could be the George Soros of this Trump administration, that actually fills me with dread, Chri. The fact that, he put that picture of him holding that sink. Let that sink in.
That's right.
And he put that out on X. And I'm going to ask my friend Rahul Chaudhury, who just joins us. Rahul has been CEO of Tata Power SED, and he's pushed some very cutting-edge defense projects over there. Rahul, welcome to the 9 p.m. show, News9 Plus show.
Hi.
As Ambassador Shankar was talking about technology opening up in the India-US defense sphere, do you think a new Trump presidency, a second Donald Trump presidency, is going to be open about sharing technology with India? Because, it's been a sore point in the relationship between India and the United States, that the US never gives us technology of the kind the Russian Federation shares with us. For instance, the BrahMos missile, there's nuclear stuff, there is other stuff which we cannot possibly discuss on an open forum. But the India-Russia relationship is very different from the India-US relationship. But do you think a transactional Trump presidency could change all of that for Indian defense?
First of all, this is a very different Donald Trump.
Right.
It is a very different speech. If you have heard his victory speech, the victory speech was all about the technological prowess of America.
Yes.
And that prowess was brought out in the name of Elon Musk and his rocket coming down, etc.
Yes.
Second point he very clearly made was on the pharmaceuticals and the issues which the COVID and the George Soros gang,
Yes.
including a hell of a lot of these people who created the entire COVID pandemic.
Right.
He brought in Kennedy. And very clearly he said, Mr. Kennedy, I will make America great again by creating fracking, by creating oil,
Right.
by making America independent.
Right.
And in fact, the great reset between Donald Trump and India
Yes.
was when Modi ji tried and got that oil deal and the gas deal for India.
Right.
First time when he met,
Yes.
he created that dynamic. He understood. It's not a transactional please, Donald Trump is a very shrewd and a very high IQ business person.
Right.
This relationship is gonna be a very different one. And George Soros is not. If George Soros has to be replaced, then Vivek Ramaswamy is a better person to do that. He already has a fund which is competing with Stripe, and it will happen. Please understand one thing: this coalition, which won, is a coalition of working class Americans.
Right.
And it has cut across the elites like anything. Even today, CNN is crying
Yes.
because they don't even understand what has happened.
Right.
This is a very different Donald Trump victory than 2016.
Right.
And this is the victory which brings America great again. Now has the technical prowess of a guy called Elon Musk,
Yes.
who is creating something called gigafactories. And what are these gigafactories? Gigafactories are big factories where integrated manufacturing happens.
Right.
But what Model T did in 1910,
Yes.
where Model T started to create the first start of outsourcing and first domestic global supply chains, and then when we have the
Yes.
computers and everything else, global
Right.
supply chain,
Right.
this is shrinking back.
Right.
This relationship and this capability, we have to look at it from a perspective of what we can do in this new value chain with the Americans.
Absolutely,
And
a
it-
new value chain, Rahul Chaudhury. That's a very interesting coinage. The fact that you're looking at a new CTO, if one could say that, a new Trump CTO. That's Elon Musk, and he's been out there, endorsing Trump like possibly no other tech titan has done in recent months. But
He
Shri-
has just see what happened to Jeff Bezos and Washington Post,
Yes.
and all the newspapers. So all of them, everybody knew that this is coming.
yes, everyone knew this was
could
coming.
see
They
it
knew
in the
which
data.
way
They could see it in the data.
they knew which way the wind was blowing, and make America great again, and as Rahul was saying, make America frack again could be a very big possibility. But this thing of Elon Musk entering the whole picture, Shri. Elon Musk is someone who's got very deep connections with China. He does all his big Tesla factories and all that are in China. You think Xi Jinping will be celebrating this victory?
I think he definitely would like the fact that someone who has a very serious interest in China
Yes.
is now an influential figure in the
White House.
In the White House. So
Right.
that's definitely going to be something that China will be happy about.
Right.
But talking about the new trajectory in which things are moving in the US, I think one of the most important things we have to recognize, and which is represented by people like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy,
Yes.
Donald Trump, is this whole end of a woke culture in some sense.
Right. The
I think we had
working class coalition, as Rahul just
absolutely.
said,
I think
is-
US probably came to a point where it figured that okay, there's too much of it happening now,
Yes.
and we need to end it.
right. So they
So I think we will see a significant walk back from this whole woke culture, which has been
Right.
going on for the last almost 3 decades.
Yes.
and that has led to ruinous consequences in some of the best cities in the US, which have been the engines of growth. You take like states like California, or you take New York. I mean, all these cities are ruined by crime, by drug addiction, homelessness.
And you've seen it personally, Sri, when you lived there last year. You've seen that firsthand, how the American dream was kind of coming apart at the seams. But I want to bring in Ajit Kumar Jha, who's been listening very patiently from the beginning. Ajit, my apologies for coming to you so late in the show, but I want to, highlight another Trump agenda point that he's been raising constantly, which is the specter of illegal immigration into the United States, where you have people who follow the rules, who go there in the United States, they're waiting, they wait for 10 and 15 and 20 years for their green card. And here you have millions of people who are literally, lifting the fence and, crossing over into the United States. And Trump has made an election issue out of this. And by promising to deport them, how much of a problem will this cause, Ajit Kumar Jha, between India and the United States if Trump starts deporting illegal immigrants? A lot of those illegal immigrants are from India. What do you see in the months ahead?
Sandeep, if you heard his victory speech, he made a very important statement in that. He said that, look, I am for migrants, I am for migration, but I want intelligent migrants. Right. In fact, he pointed it out. He was talking about getting rid of, as he said, of course, illegal migrants, because of whom the crime is going up. He was hinting at a particular kind of migrant. In fact, he pointed out all those in the universities who were creating trouble during the Middle East war, attacking, in this case, he didn't mention in the victory speech, but otherwise attacking Jews, attacking others. So he's talking of that particularly, very clearly. He's aimed his this whole sort of anti-migrant, illegal migrant approach, those who create crime. And maybe you are right. I mean, we have heard of some, Gujaratis, for example, returning in 1 or 2 flights from the US. But I think he prefers the Indian migrants, the Indian students, who go abroad, who study abroad, a very large section of them, right? In fact, one of the estimates is that by 2027, there will be about, 20 lakh Indian students going abroad. And a large section of that used to go particularly to Canada and the US. And now that Canada is cutting the numbers, they're probably to Europe and the US. So I don't think he's against that. So that is pretty clear that he's talking about illegal migrants. So obviously, to some extent, some of the migrants who are already there, the dealing with that, he might have some problems when he's talking to the Indian government, how to handle them with care and things of that sort. But I think the bigger part of the illegal migration that has happened in the US, the bigger chunk in the past at least, has been from across the border, right? From Mexico, from Latin America, from Haiti. Remember that statement that he had made, which made all of us laugh, when he said in Ohio, these migrants come and eat up the cats and dogs.
Yeah, eating the cats and they're eating the dogs.
So he was not referring to Indian migrants at all over there. So that way, we are in a much safer position. The bulk of our migrants are essentially students, are these so-called IT workers.
But Ajit, I was referring to the illegal migrants, who basically go from several states of India. And there are tens of thousands of them, and there's a lot of footage to show that that's the case. But Rahul Chaudhury, you've watched Trump's victory speech very closely. Of course, you've lived in the United States. You worked in tech companies over there. What's your big takeaway from his speech? What can you decipher what the next 4 years of the Trump presidency is going to look like? Apart from the fact that you mentioned that it's going to be a working class, confederation that he's going to really push to make America great again. What's your take, Rahul?
What he understands very well is American security starts with energy security.
Right.
And he's implemented it in the first term. If the 2 years COVID did not happen, I mean, the kind of American economy was booming like anything.
Yes.
So the first and the foremost is he understands this woke environmental bakwas is over.
Right. Right.
And the second thing which is very, very clear in that America requires high-tech capabilities and herein lies the big advantage for India. We are the only country
Right.
where they are not threatened. They are not threatened that we will take away their IP.
Right.
If we can do a new kind of a partnership with America, because all these AI coming into production requires hell of a lot of work to be done.
Right.
And if we can create another kind of a partnership with them, where we will become their technology partners to create that kind of a manufacturing,
Right.
which is far more in next to the customer, but it still requires a lot of service to be delivered. It's a very different kind of a thought. And the second great capabilities which we have is our space capability.
Yes.
We can manage that, these two together. It's gonna be a very different kind of a relationship which we need to, but they will not tolerate this. हम आपके दोस्त भी हैं और हमें तेल भी रूस से लेके आना है.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it's either my way or the highway.
You need to choose your friend.
Yes.
With Donald Trump, you do not have a duality of relationship. You do not have this fuzziness in your relationship.
Absolutely. Interesting point there, Rahul. We don't have
truly create
a duality of relationships. And I'm afraid we're completely out of time, but I'm going to ask Sri to sum up what a Donald Trump presidency means now for us, given the fact that he has such an excellent relationship, a one-on-one relationship
Absolutely.
with Prime Minister Modi. The bonhomie that they've had is for all to see. Do you think that Prime Minister Modi would have heaved a sigh of relief today once he's seen the results?
I think he would have. But even if it had been, let's say, Kamala, in the White House, one fact which remains unchanged is that geopolitically, India matters to the US.
Right.
That's not going to change whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris in the White House, Sandeep.
Right.
That's number one. Where are the areas where India might need to make some concessions? I think it's in the area of tariffs.
Yes.
I don't think, although he's spoken about imposing tariffs on Indian imported goods, that is akin to basically taxing your own American consumers.
Right.
Rather, what Trump might push for is opening up of some of our protected product categories, especially in agriculture, dairy.
Yes.
So that's something he might push for.
Right.
Number two, immigration. Now, on immigration, I have a slightly different take compared to the others. I don't think we should have any issues if Trump sends back illegal immigrants.
Right.
They have no business to be there to begin with.
Right.
So we should not take any umbrage saying that, why are you sending our illegal immigrants back? We should instead worry if our H-1B visas are curtailed or students who are able to get high quality education and therefore become productive wealth creators for the global economy, if those visas get impacted.
Right.
But I don't think we should have any problem if they start tightening the borders.
Yes.
Right now, that starts the flow of illegal immigrants into US, and then start tweaking the visa rules, which I think will probably fall upon Vivek Ramaswamy, someone like him. That's my sense.
He's tipped to get a very key role in this new Trump administration.
He certainly should get, because he's one of the brightest guys, I think, in the Republican system today.
Right.
He's a man with great ideas, and he speaks, what he means.
Right.
So he's very clear-cut about issues. He's not hemming and hawing on some important issue. He's got great clarity of mind, and I think Trump appreciates that.
Trump appreciates that, indeed. And thank you very much, Sri, for putting that into perspective. The fact that we're looking at another Donald Trump presidency, and as we just said on the show, Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar, what are the challenges for India? But thank you very much, Ambassador Meera, Shankar, my friend Ajit Kumar Jha, Rahul Chaudhury, and my colleague R. Sridharan for joining us on this historic day of the American elections. India is among the world's top owners of cargo. Now, 95% of India's trade is routed through the sea. But here's the dichotomy. India doesn't own cargo vessels because India doesn't build them. And so we pay something like $75 billion each year to foreign countries and foreign cargo vessels to transport our trade. Now this makes India vulnerable in the sea. And especially after the Red Sea crisis, where the Houthis have been targeting merchant shipping, the government of India has finally realized that it needs to build its own ships to protect India's economy, which completely depends on the maritime lanes of communication. So India is now working on various policies, building mega shipbuilding ports, providing assistance to private shipbuilders in India. And the plan of the government is to become the world's 5th largest shipbuilding country in the world by 2047. Joining me to discuss this very big crisis for Indian shipbuilding are Captain Naveen Singhal, and in the studio I have with me my colleague Nivriti Mohan, who's just put together this fine story on the crisis that's facing Indian shipbuilding. Nivriti, tell us in short, what is this crisis really? How did we get to this point where we make up a majority of the world's trade? We are one of the world's largest trading nations. We depend on the seas, but we make so few ships. Why is that the case?
See, as you said, that India is surrounded by water on 3 sides.
Yes.
And the trade, 90% of its trade is completely dependent on maritime transport. And despite that, India is not building its own ships. And if you...
Where are we currently, Nivriti, in the shipbuilding nations? I understand China is number 1. Where is India in the list of shipbuilding nations?
So China is number 1, which is not good for us, and India is at 22nd number.
Number 22. We are literally at the bottom.
Which means that the share of shipbuilding that globally, India's share is not even 1%, it is 0.06%. So it is
we are
very,
not
very
even
surprising.
1% of the world's shipbuilding nations.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to Captain Naveen Singhal right away. Captain Singhal, you've been a skipper on maritime routes for several decades now, and you've looked at the industry very closely. How much of a crisis is this really, what Nivriti just told us? And in fact, it's there in a story as well, the fact that we are going to be the world's 3rd largest economy by the end of this decade, and we don't even build 1% of the world's ships. How serious a crisis is this?
Hi Sandeep, thanks for having me in here. So yes, so we are not building ships, and we are hoping to be the 3rd largest economy. Yes, indeed, it's a huge crisis, and if we go back into the last, let's say, 5 or 6 decades of our shipping, so I think the government in the past, let's say in the 20th century, and even in the early part of the 21st century, how much time and how much resources they've allocated to the shipping industry, which is not just the shipbuilding, but the ports and the shipping ship owners. If you look at the whole spectrum of shipping, the maritime industry has been, almost like a stepchild treatment.
Right.
The ministers, the portfolios held by the shipping, they have been, not the very prominent ones. I wonder how many of them have held cabinet ranks, unlike the present minister,
Right.
Sonowal. He is a cabinet rank, and I think in the last in the Modi government, they have probably all been cabinet rank, and they have been doing a lot of the homework and a lot of the past, what should have been done in the past. So
Right. So
certainly things are moving fine.
So the problem
Yeah.
seems to be a lack of a clear vision, and the fact that the government has never really had a clear vision for shipbuilding. But Nivriti, your story, Unmade in India, a very fine story, which you put together the last couple of days, talks about a dichotomy that we are a very major warship building nation. When it comes to warships, we're building literally hundreds of warships, but when it comes to the commercial side of things, we're not building enough ships. Why this dichotomy? Why are we more focused on defense shipbuilding and not on the commercial side?
What happened in commercial shipbuilding is that financing is the major issue in commercial shipbuilding. They are not getting any finance. It is not considered to be an infrastructure. Shipbuilding is not considered as an infrastructure.
Right.
And then when they go for finance, the interest rates are very high. They don't
Yes.
get orders. So the major problem is there is lack of the entire ecosystem. They don't get components at one place.
Yes.
And if they are getting components from various manufacturers, and although they give guarantees for their own product, but the buyer needs a complete guarantee of the ship.
Right.
So for that they need they need bank guarantee. So that bank guarantee also doesn't come.
So it's obviously
cheap.
these, these protocols have existed for a while, and nobody's thought it fit to fix the system and to make it easier to get finance for shipbuilding. And something as simple as that, not having finance, not treating shipbuilding as an infrastructure, sector, which makes it so much more difficult. Whereas
which
defense
actually happened in defense. They created a complete ecosystem. If
Yes.
you talk about defense industrial corridor,
Yes.
and then you
Shipyards,
banned
defense
some
shipyards,
you then banned you made those lists. I exactly don't remember the name, but you named a few items, defense
Yes.
items that you cannot buy from foreign countries.
you have to make within the country.
You don't have to export.
But Nivriti, very quickly, this wake-up call, as your story mentions, was when the Houthis started attacking shipping in the Red Sea last year. And of course, we are one of those nations that has had to divert its shipping around the Cape of Good Hope, take the longer route rather than go through the Red Sea. How much of a wake-up call was it for the government when it embarked on this new blueprint for the shipbuilding in India?
It is definitely, it was a big realization that the government thought that no, this is also something strategic. We should consider commercial shipbuilding
Right.
also as a strategic field.
Yes.
And because of that, when the trade was hampered in Red Sea,
Yes.
the cost of trade also rose.
Yes.
So if you
It started hurting
think
the
about
economy.
3
Yes.
years back, the cost was low and it rose 4 or 5 times 3 years
Right.
later. So this is also one thing. And one major thing is involvement of China in shipbuilding.
Yes.
So China is the top shipbuilder in the world.
Right.
They build half of the world's ship fleet.
50% of the world's
50%, more
shipping
than
is built in
50%.
China.
They have more than 50%
My
orders.
God, that's
right
staggering. But
now.
I'm going to ask Captain Singhal this question. Captain Singhal, we've been talking over the last few months as the Houthis stepped up their attacks, on merchant shipping in the Red Sea. Was that really the wake-up call you think that forced the government to
No.
look at it, or were there other reasons as well?
No, not at all. I don't think that was a reason for any wake-up call for shipbuilding. I think in Indian, the government has been looking into shipbuilding, and shipbuilding is a massive, it's huge investments involved,
Yes.
and technology and skilled manpower.
Right.
When Nivriti mentioned about naval connection, and you mentioned about, you see, predominantly if you look at it, whether it was the Garden shipyard, or the Visakhapatnam shipyard, the
Yeah.
Cochin shipyard, or the Mazagon, they're all naval shipyards. I mean,
Yes.
Hindustan shipyard in Vizag, they started building some commercial ships. Cochin started building it. So we didn't have private shipyard players except a few of them. Maybe in Goa we had one or two, and maybe somewhere in the Gujarat region. So, and nobody came in here because of the heavy cost, and also you require adequate. You see, the government has to allocate land, because shipyard can't be located in New Delhi. It has to be located on
Right.
the coast, and
On
the
the
coast
coast.
has to, they have to provide adequate land infrastructure. And now today, you see, we're talking about Chinese. They're building about, you see, about 1,200 ships are built each year, in the world. What of that, you imagine 600 ships are built in China,
Right.
in what they have something like 1,200 shipyards. They're
Yes.
building 600 ships a year. And we have so-called roughly about somewhere in the region of 24 small to moderate shipyards.
Yes.
And the claim is, of course, that we have something like over 600 shipyards, but I don't think they are that functional. So maybe we have around 24 shipyards. So we really need to go in big time into this. And I think Adanis have taken the plunge
Yes.
out there.
Right.
In Mundra, they're doing that. They're doing one in Kerala, and there's one coming up in Maharashtra, in Amboli. So I think they have taken, I think the big players really need to go into this. Then they have to do must collaborate with, Hyundai or with Mitsubishi in Japan, because they have the technology, they have and they will, provide the skilled training to our people, because at the end of the day, shipbuilding is all about technology and skill, and
Yes.
of course a huge investment. So that's and By the way, I think you are aware that the Russians have placed an order with India for 4 non-nuclear icebreakers, and
Yes.
this particular order has been given to India, and we've got about 750 million, so that 0.07 percentage or whatever, like we are trying to keep up with that, and hopefully they will come up because even the Maritime Development Fund
Yes.
has allocated 25,000 crores out there. So I think things are looking up, but it's going to take, you can't see results overnight in shipbuilding. It'll
No,
take
you
at
can't.
least another
Given the fact that it takes
decade.
so long to build a ship, and and setting up a shipbuilding industry would take decades. But Nivritti, tell us, your story mentions this blueprint that the government has put out to become the world's 5th largest shipbuilding nation by 2047. How sure are they of getting to that target?
They're quite sure. They're working in the direction. Recently, some seminar happened at Goa, and all the coastal states were called in for future planning, how the shipbuilding will take place. And they are also thinking of making a mega shipbuilding park on the eastern side and western side on the coasts of India. So all these things are being taken care of. And also, when I spoke to the Secretary Shipping, he also told me that they are working on how they can help industries, shipbuilding companies with finance, how they can help them get demand, and how they can ensure that the demand is met. So in all the directions, the government has started working now, and as you said, by 2047 they plan to be amongst the top 5 shipbuilders in the world. But before that, 2030 is the nearest target where they want to be amongst the 10.
Absolutely.
They want to be top 10.
Ambitious targets indeed set by the government of India, and that's been a while, in coming, and given the fact that a country that's soon to be the world's 3rd largest economy accounts for just less than 1% of the world's shipbuilding total. That's the story that you can catch in Nivritti Mohan's documentary Unmade in India, that's dropping on the News9 Plus app today. But thank you very much for joining us this evening, Captain Naveen Singhal, and of course my colleague Nivritti Mohan, while we're talking about this crisis that faces Indian manufacturing.